It's exciting times right now when we're able to release a documentary like Countdown to Disclosure, the secret technology behind the Space Force at this time, due to the fact that the Space Force is active for a year now, but what's the technology behind it? The documentary breaks it down and goes into full detail in regards to the technology behind the Tic Tac.
I think it's terrifying. I mean, this seems potentially like one of the biggest stories of my lifetime. And I don't care if it's about UFOs or whatever you call it. Something that we don't understand is getting very close to our military aircraft.
The technologies related to energy generation should come out first.
This hybrid aerospace underwater craft is able to basically generate an electromagnetic field.
It is President Trump's belief that the United States must remain as dominant in space as we are on land and sea and the air. And your charge is to see to that mission with the United States Space Force.
Some of the information that people are still unaware of is the technology behind some of these UFO phenomenon. What's the meta-propulsion behind it? Michael Salla gets into incredible detail in regards to some of the technology that is being hidden from the public. Where was a Tic Tac made? Is it one of ours?
I think extraterrestrials are watching our planet in terms of how we deal with these problems in terms of artificial intelligence and whether we go down the track of automating all our most advanced technologies with artificial intelligence. Because if we do, then we become a threat to them. Because as far as I understand it, many of the extraterrestrial races are very careful about artificial intelligence because there's a danger. Because with artificial intelligence, once you kind of reach the singularity point, and artificial intelligence basically is able to start building more intelligent AI machines themselves.
Some of the biggest aspects of Countdown to Disclosure is the participants in this documentary. We've got some heavy hitters. We have Bob Lazar, including Mitu Kaku and many others that make an appearance in this documentary. And we kind of base this whole thing around what was happening over the past 3 to 4 years when the Space Force was kind of being implemented in our United States government. And then finally we're here at the year's end of the Space Force actually being around as a functioning military branch. It's highly interesting that the President of the United States was kind of giving this kind of soft disclosure. It was kind of making the rounds in the media. And then there were some things that broke where the Pentagon almost admitted that there was off-world vehicles in their possession.
There were 3 people on my team assassinated, and I was almost killed.
With a lot of people that would like to know what's going on.
It's a matter of national security.
But apparently, just recovered are off-world vehicles not made on this Earth.
The president will respond to the subject the way they want them to. There's a black box with all the technologies that would give us a civilization that's sustainable, peaceful, etc., and that's been around for decades.
We had our friend Jim Goodall contact Bob Lazar, and we had a good little conversation that's going to be put into this documentary. Nobody's heard of this. We all wanted Bob Lazar's opinion, and he gave it to us.
Could be a restatement saying, "Hallelujah! I'm finally vindicated."
I'm not completely convinced they're going to let this stay like it is.
So here it is, Countdown to Disclosure. Finally. I can't believe it's been a year almost since I saw Brent and Blake working on this documentary. It's amazing to see the progression and to see all the interviews and all the work that went into it. So I'm really proud of being a part of that and, just helping them with little pointers here and there. But other than that, Greer, Salla, and everybody else in this movie are fantastic. And they focus on a lot of the stuff that's going on right now. So you're getting information that is literally in real time.
We know that the technologies already exist that would give us a new civilization with no pollution and also no surface roads. The problem with the ones that are airborne is that those can be repurposed as a missile or something that could go from place A to B and deliver a weapon.
One of the things that they talk about, which is something I'm a believer in, is that the aliens aren't a threat. And Greer talks about that a couple of times, how he doesn't like the way the narrative is being changed. Like everything about disclosure is being turned into a threat. And for whatever reason, whatever narrative that TTSA, the government, whatever, that they want to perpetrate, it doesn't really make sense. And why do they have to say that the aliens are a threat when we really don't see that? And that's because they want to get funding from the government.
There are a lot of people who are putting information out that is of questionable value. Some people have done a very good job trying to move it forward. My biggest concern is people will take a lot of the evidence that we've collected, including some of the top secret witnesses, military and intelligence, and then they'll spin it into this false narrative of a threat. And that's what TTSA is doing. Unfortunately, that's what a lot of the people in the UFO subculture is doing. And the media covers that preferentially because the intelligence community that's embedded in the media wants that narrative out. They want a war narrative out. They want fear. They want this to be a freak show and a horror show.
Countdown to Disclosure has finally arrived. This is an amazing documentary that has several revelations in it. A lot of things that some people suspected, and now we're finding is coming to light. We have the Jetson technology. It's just being held hostage by military and private companies, but it's here. When are they going to release it? That's what I want to know. And these Tic Tacs, I mean, are these ours or are these alien craft? Well, it could be that it's ours, but yet crafted by alien spacecraft.
The technologies related to energy generation should come out first, so that we would have clean energy, no pollution, factories, cars, everything. The step of bringing out, where everyone would have an individual vehicle that would be so-called anti-gravity and lift and go over the road without any roads, which is, we already have that technology. We will be traveling that way, not in the not too distant future, I believe.
It's all going to come to light sooner or later, and this documentary is just one step closer to that light. But the fact that we have this technology is what is so compelling, and I just love that we are getting closer and closer to having some of this technology released to the public.
It's February 16th, 2021, and Countdown to Disclosure has arrived. Now, right up front, let me say this. I've seen many different documentaries, as I'm sure many of you have as well, and sometimes I'm walking away feeling a little unsatiated, questioning perhaps some of the topics that were discussed that don't necessarily connect with the core theme of the movie, and generally just confused. This movie, Countdown to Disclosure, is nothing like that.
Everybody's asking the biggest question in the world. Are we alone?
Look, it's holding, it's just stalled out there.
The narrative that's being launched, which is a false narrative, is that we're not alone and that those civilizations are a threat. The problem is that the public has to be informed and involved.
This is a very comprehensive analysis of the technology that we may or may not possess, and I'm going to say it like that because when you're done seeing this movie, you might have a little bit more conviction on the side of this actually being something very real that we're dealing with here in our time. I feel like I'm almost being debriefed myself watching this because it's so informational, and there's so much packed into this, condensed in a very clear, communicated way. It's just absolutely amazing what I've gotten out of this movie. Now, as we go through, we have Dr. Greer and we have Michael Salla really giving us some incredible interpretations and some inside information about what they know about technology that we have and how we may integrate it in the best and most responsible way moving forward. That's a really interesting thing, because if this technology and artificial intelligence, which has literally sat in the realm of fantasy for so long, if this is real and it's what's coming next, it is a very tangible question to ask. How do we integrate it?
And this is something that has been a big problem out there, according to insiders, contactees who have been communicating with extraterrestrials, that once you reach that singularity point, AI becomes a threat. So how are we going to deal with that? Are we going to allow artificial intelligence to start self-replicating once it becomes so advanced and it starts to build automated craft or automated synthetic beings itself, thereby threatening us? And extraterrestrials are wanting to see which direction we go because they had to navigate that kind of danger themselves.
It's interesting to note some of the greatest minds of our world today think that AI could be the most dangerous thing to the human existence. The future could be annihilated by these AI robots that could self-replicate. And Michael Salla gets into explaining the whole aspect of the dynamic of AI, where it is today, and the quantum computers that are going to lead to the future of possibly human advancement like we've never seen before, or the demise of humans. In my opinion, AI is not going anywhere, and it's going to be helping man, but we're going to have to do it in a careful way.
It's interesting, the media has been tossing around the word a UFO threat, considering this could be maybe a Chinese or a Russian weapon that could be used against the United States. There is some ramifications to this kind of technology getting out to the public. Dr. Greer goes into immense detail on this particular subject, the capabilities of the technology, the good and the bad. What are the uses that could be a detriment to humankind or a benefit that will take us into this higher level of spirituality and technology?
That's my concern. It isn't that there aren't people trying to do it, it's like what wisdom is guiding that process. So I think that information is one thing, knowledge is another, wisdom is rarer. I think we have to approach this very wisely because we're playing with fire here. And the way that a lot of people are taking the disclosure information that we initiated and then repackaging it as a threat, that is my biggest concern because I know it's false.
So it's really frustrating when you have people like Greer, who's all about disclosure, 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 and then you have other people in other groups and factions that want to talk about this threat, which I can understand. If I was in the government and you have these objects that you don't understand, go hypersonic speeds, outmaneuver you at every turn and everything, you know, it's like you would not have a chance against these UFOs. And we heard about the Tic Tac and what it can do. And if that was to be launched and sent somewhere, it can be used as a weapon. Whatever energy would be dispersed once that thing lands on its mark. So it's pretty interesting thought that goes into the threat aspect of this disclosure that we want. They're just changing the narrative, the government, other groups. It's very strange, but I can understand it to a point. Until we have proof there's a threat, I don't really know if there's a threat other than them flying in our airspace. But Greer talks about that. Salla talks about the AI possibilities, capabilities. You know, once AI gets to the point, that singularity point, where it wants to learn more, it wants to make itself better, smarter, faster, stronger, and it can eventually harbor feelings. Although they're drummed up feelings from a computer, nonetheless, this AI would believe that it's better than us.
The other thing that's been mentioned in the film is about AI and the dangers of it. Because yes, it does sound really, really cool. Yes, it can do a lot of really neat things. But what happens, like Dr. Salla says, when you have the singularity and they realize they can build bigger and better robots and get to the point where we're not needed anymore? Now that's scary. That's dangerous. And there's also mention that, other species are smart enough to realize, don't let AI get loose. Are we going to be that one species that are going to let it get loose? Or have we already done so? It's a slippery slope. Has its benefits, but it has its cons. And the technology of the Tic Tacs, if that is ours, why have they been keeping it secret? Well, this kind of technology in the wrong hands could cause a lot of damage. So there's a lot of pros and cons to all of this, but the fact that answers are coming out, especially in this documentary, Countdown to Disclosure, is pretty cool.
How do we keep this for the appropriate commercial use? How do we make sure that it doesn't become too weaponized? And where is our responsibility sitting with the advent of this technology and being able to use it in any way that we choose? Now, as you're watching this documentary, you're going to find many different topics that we're somewhat familiar with in our field being explained in much more detail, and again, perhaps getting some information that we didn't know prior to watching this film. But they also talk about the false narratives, UFOs being a threat, and how that's being spun by the media. And this is very important to understand because we're sort of polarizing ourselves, wherein we have people that really want this information out, even in our governments, not just in the public, but then we also on the other side have people who want nothing to do with that. They want to make sure that we're going to keep this out of the public eye, it's going to stay secret, and for all we know, we could have another 100 years of a veil over us in respect to this sort of technology. But lo and behold, as we develop it, it does trickle out, and again, the idea of how we're going to use this responsibly is really focused on. This is such a fantastic production. I would encourage every single person who has any interest in ufology and the times coming up that we're going to all live through to go and see this movie, as it's just the movie of the year for me. The best movie I think I'm going to see this year.
This is what I like about the documentary. Everything's so current. No fluff, no showing parachuters and guys wearing boots that have smoke coming out of it, falling out of the sky, saying it's a UFO. None of that in this documentary. You get fast-paced action. You get up to the minute, pretty much up to the minute information about what's going on in ufology today. I tell you, it's amazing to me that this documentary is out, and I just can't wait to see what's next for Third Phase of Moon, 1091 Productions, the Cousins Brothers, all of this stuff. It's been a real fun ride, and it's only going to get better. So with this movie coming out today, I hope you guys enjoy it. I know you will. I did, because it is history in the making. It is telling you things you need to know if you didn't already. So congratulations on the movie, guys. Pretty awesome stuff.
Bringing Michael Salla to the table on this new documentary, Countdown to Disclosure. He's been breaking down, declassifying documents, and he's an insider. He's getting the truth, and we're happy to share what he's got. He's actually going into full detail on where the Tic Tac may have been made and the possible technology behind it. I want to thank everybody that participated in this documentary. It's been a year in the process of getting it out to the masses, and finally, February 16th, it launched. Today's the day, so we appreciate everybody going out there, leaving a comment, and share it with your friends. Tell them Countdown to Disclosure. It's out right now.
The government has given their own countdown to disclosure. And what's incredible is that you're going to have to wait at least another 100 days before any information will be released to the public, if any. But the information that you're going to hear in Countdown to Disclosure is opening up the whole gamut of what is behind the technology. Who has it? Is it something that's being suppressed? How much access does the president have to some of this technology? Or is it being hidden from him? These are some of the questions that you have, but the answers are in the movie Countdown to Disclosure, and it's streaming on all services like Amazon Prime, iTunes, Apple TV, Vimeo. It's available now. I urge everybody to go watch Countdown to Disclosure. Give us your thoughts, share it with a friend, because after you watch the movie, I think we give you a representation of what's really going on, and you're going to be questioning yourself, why haven't they given us the technology?
I think it's terrifying. I mean, this seems potentially like one of the biggest stories of my lifetime. And I don't care if it's about UFOs or whatever you call it. Something that we don't understand is getting very close to our military aircraft.
The technologies related to energy generation should come out first.
This hybrid aerospace underwater craft is able to basically generate an electromagnetic field.
It is President Trump's belief that the United States must remain as dominant in space as we are on land and sea and the air. And your charge is to see to that mission with the United States Space Force.
There were 3 people on my team assassinated, and I was almost killed.
With a lot of people that would like to know what's going on.
It's a matter of national security.
But apparently, just recovered are off-world vehicles not made on this Earth.
The president will respond to the subject the way they want them to. There's a black box with all the technologies that would give us a civilization that's sustainable, peaceful, etc., and that's been around for decades.
Everybody's asking the biggest question in the world. Are we alone?
Look, it's holding, it's just stalled out there.
The narrative that's being launched, which is a false narrative, is that we're not alone and that those civilizations are a threat. The problem is that the public has to be informed and involved.
It could be a brief statement saying, hallelujah, I'm finally vindicated.
I'm not completely convinced they're gonna let this stay like it is.
But the people who are surrounding that level of our politicians and government are not told. Like the movie Independence Day, where Will says, let's go kick alien butt.